Hey guys, what's up y'all? What's going on, baby blossoms and titans? What's going on today? So blessed earth strong to you. I wanted to come on and do a quick video on some deities to honor. Me being who I am, I'm a natural witch. It took me some time to even petition a deity for help. You're going to be that way, especially if you are a baby blossom in magic. You're totally going to be that way, and it's okay. It takes a while to do this type of work, and you need to know what you're doing too, or who you are honoring, and what type of things they like, what they dislike, what their powers are. You really need to know that when you do any type of deity or saints or gods and goddesses type of work, okay? So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about deities, certain ones, and ways to honor them in your work, all right? So the more accustomed you become to making spells, the more you will begin to appreciate the power of various deities and how that power is used in magic, okay? Now, by placing representations of the deities on your altar, or calling on them to assist you in your spells or your works or your desires, you are accessing an energy that might not otherwise be available to you, all right? You must be comfortable with this type of work. You must be comfortable with this type of work. Okay? And you must know who wants to work with you. You'll feel it. You'll know. You'll get dreams. It'll stay on your mind. It'll appeal to you. All of those things come into play when you are wanting to honor a certain deity, okay, or a saint. Most of the time, I hear a lot of people of color or minorities, they petition Holy Death or Yemaye, Oshun. I have heard Morrigan, all of those. We're going to talk about a lot of different ones. It's so many different facets of gods or deities, meaning they could be Irish, or they could be Roman or Greek or African. It's so many different avenues, and it's so many different kinds of deities, man. It's so many different kinds. Everything that I'm giving you is going to be very light, but it's going to be packed with information. But this is the thing, though. If you decide to work with a particular deity, or you're interested in a particular deity, I'm going to tell you always to read it for yourself. Read it in a way where you know that you understand you have to pay the spirits, or what they like and what they dislike, or this is the altar that I'm going to erect and they don't like this particular thing, but this god or goddess does. You have to know who you are petitioning and what they like, okay? Telling you that now. I'm not going to give you that part, but I'm giving you the basics, basically. So we're going back to the basics in magic. Let's talk about it. Before I get started, I do want to say please like, subscribe, support my channel. It's greatly appreciated. I see the ones that do. And for that little ant that does not, I just have one. Thank you so much for the dislike. It motivates me to be better than myself. Better every time. And that's just what it is. I'm not in this world for anyone to like or dislike me. But I rather likes. But as long as my husband loves it, I'm okay. It doesn't make me or break me. It just makes me see things like There's always a hater in the midst, honey. Hate on. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about some gods and goddesses. Guys, I do have my notes here. I will be looking down a lot because y'all know a good tutress got her notes together. First, we're going to talk about some Egyptian gods and goddesses. I'm going to, it's a lot of them. So we're going to go with Anubis. Everyone, I'm going to talk about the ones that are widely known. And then I may do another video on ones that gods and goddesses that are not usually spoken about. Okay. So first this video is on gods and goddesses that are widely known. This here, we're going to talk about all things Egyptian. This here is, no, we're going to talk about Egyptian. We're going to talk about Irish. We're going to talk about them all. But I'm just going to give you the basics, okay? So the first one we're talking about is Egyptian god Anubis. And this is the god of mummification and the protector of tombs. And he is often represented as having a jackal's head. He is known, or he weighs the souls of the dead against a feather. That's a brief on Anubis. We're going to jump to Welsh god. And the Welsh god is Rhiannon. Rhiannon is believed to be the Welsh counterpart of the Gaulish horse goddess Epona and the Irish goddess Macha. That's Rhiannon. Also, we're going to jump to Welsh god Bran. Bran is a hero god and also the god of poetry in the underworld. His name means raven. Do you attune to that? If you are attuning to it, write it down and go find more information on these particular deities I'm giving you. All right. We're going to talk about Irish goddess. This is an Irish goddess, Bridget. Also Bridget, Brigid. That's two other names that she goes by. And this is the goddess of healing and fertility. Patroness of smiths, poets, and doctors. Now, Brigid is often symbolized by a white swan or a cow with red horns, and she was thought to be the daughter of Dada. Her festival is that of Imbolc. Observed on February the 2nd, she shares attributes with the ancient Greek triple goddess Hecate or Hecate. All right. Another Irish goddess is Morrigan. I talked about Morrigan earlier. If you look at pictures of Morrigan, it usually shows a crow or a raven. And this is the goddess of war and death. Morrigan was married to Dagda. She is linked with negative femininity and the more fearsome characteristics of the triple goddess. She could transform into a crow or a raven. Okay. Let's see. Next, the Irish god Nodin was a god of healing. His magic hounds were said to be able to cure the sick, and that is Nodin. You hear about that one. Next, we're going to talk about the Welsh god Math. Math, M-A-T-H, is an eminent magician and lord of North Wales, brother of Dawn, the Welsh mother goddess. And returning from battle, he discovered that his foot holder, who had to be a virgin, had been raped by his nephews. Furious, he turned them first into a stag and a hind, then a boar and a sow, and then a wolf and a she-wolf. That is Math. All right. We're going to talk about Egyptian god Horus. Horus is a sky god whose symbol is the hawk and is usually depicted as a falcon-headed man. He was regarded as the protector of the monarchy, and his name was often added to royal titles. He assumed various aspects and was known to the Greeks as Horus the Child. All right? Egyptian god Osiris is a god originally associated with fertility, and he was the husband of Isis and the father of Horus, which is the one I just told you about, who is a sky god. He is known chiefly through the story of his death at the hand of his brother Seth, and his subsequent restoration by his wife Isis to a new life as a ruler of the afterlife. That's Osiris. Then we got Ra, which is an Egyptian god as well. And this Ra, I tune to Ra a lot. But Ra is hot, honey. He is the supreme Egyptian sun god. And he was worshipped as the creator of all life, and is often portrayed with a falcon's head bearing the solar disk. He appears traveling in his ship with other gods, crossing the sky by day, and he journeys through the underworld of the dead at night. Okay? Now, Egyptian god Seth, as one of the oldest of the Egyptian deities, is the god of chaos and evil. He is shown as a man with the head of a monster. Now, Seth is the one that killed his brother Osiris. Okay? Now, Egyptian goddesses, Bastet, is usually shown as a woman with the head of a cat. Now, wearing one gold earring and carrying a sistrum in her right hand, she is the goddess of pleasure, of dancing, of music, and joy. Now, cats were considered to be her sacred animal and were therefore protected from harm. Are you one to attune to cats? Okay. Next, Egyptian goddess Hathor is a sky goddess, the patron of love and joy, represented variously as a cow with a cow's head or ears, or with a solar disk between the cow's horns. Her name means house of Horus. Egyptian goddess Isis. A lot of people that I know petition or honor Isis. Isis. Everybody loves Isis. Isis is first a nature goddess. She's all about nature. Isis is the wife of Osiris and mother of Horus. Her worship spread to Western Asia, Greece, and Rome, where she was identified with various local goddesses. Now, when Seth killed Osiris, her husband, she sought his scattered body so she could give birth to Horus, a sky god. Next, we have Mot. Mot is the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order, and was the daughter of Ra, the sun god. She is depicted as a young and beautiful woman, seated or standing with a feather on her head. That's Mot. Sekhmet, another Egyptian goddess, is a fierce lion goddess, counterpart of the gentler cat goddess Bastet, and wife of Ptah at Memphis. Her messengers were abominable creatures who could bring about diseases and other curses on mankind. We're going to jump straight into Greek gods. First, Apollo, son of Zeus and Leto, and brother of Artemis, is presented as the ideal type of manly beauty. He is associated with the sun and linked especially with music, poetic inspiration, archery, medicine, and pastoral life. Greek god Chaos is the first created being from which came the primeval deities Gaia, Tartarus, Erebus, and Nyx. That's Chaos. Okay? Yeah, I'm getting all this right. I told you I'm just going to break it down, what they are, what their intents are, okay? Hades is the god of the underworld, who received as his weapon the helmet of invisibility. He captured Persephone as his consort, causing chaos in the upper world when Demeter went searching for Persephone. All right. Hypnos is the god of sleep and was the son of Nyx. Nyx meaning night. Pan is the god of flocks and herds. Is usually represented with the horns, ears, and legs of a goat on a man's body. He was thought as of a loving mountains, caves, and lonely places, as well as playing the panpipes. He is also the god of nature. Poseidon is the god of the sea, the water, the earthquakes, and the horses. When angered, he was perceived as needing to be pacified. He is often portrayed with a trident in his hand and is identified with the Roman god Neptune. And Zeus is the supreme god. He was the protector and ruler of all mankind and the dispenser of good and evil and the god of weather. He was identified with Jupiter by the Romans. Now we're going to jump to Greek goddesses. Aphrodite is the goddess of beauty, fertility, and sexual love. Identified by the Romans with Venus, she is portrayed both as the daughter of Zeus and Dion and as being born of the sea foam. That's Aphrodite. Greek goddess Artemis, a hunter goddess, is often depicted with a bow and arrow and is associated with birth, with fertility, and abundance. She was identified with the Roman goddess Diana and with Selene. Greek goddess Demeter is a corn and barley goddess and also goddess of the earth in its productive state. She is the mother of Persephone, and she is identified with Ceres and Cybele. Her symbol is often an ear of corn. Hecate, a lot of people honor Hecate, and she is the goddess of dark places and is often associated with ghosts and sorcery and is worshipped with offerings at the crossroads. Identified as the queen of the witches in the modern day, she is frequently identified with Artemis and Selene. Hera was worshipped as the queen of heaven and a marriage goddess. The Romans identify her with Juno. Now, the Greek goddess Nemesis is a goddess usually portrayed as the agent of divine punishment for wrongdoing or presumption. She is often little more than the personification of retribution. Persephone was called Proserpina by the Romans. From a magical perspective, her story symbolizes the return of fertility to the earth. Hades, king of the underworld, wanted her as his wife, carrying her off and making her queen of the underworld. Demeter, her mother, unable to find her, began to pine, and famine began to spread around the world. Eventually, it was agreed that she would spend 6 months on earth and 6 months in the underworld. Okay? We're going to jump to Roman gods. Cupid is the god of love and was identified by the Romans with Eros. He is often pictured as a naked boy with wings, carrying a bow and arrow with which he pierces his victims. Janus, Roman god, is an ancient Italian deity. He is a guardian of doorways, gates, and beginnings, and protector of the state in times of war. He is usually represented with two faces, so he looks both forward and backward. Mars is the god of war and the most important god after Jupiter. He is identified with Aries by the Greeks and was probably originally an agricultural god. The month of March is named after him. Roman goddesses. Let's talk about Diana, who is an early goddess identified with Artemis and was associated with hunting, virginity, and the moon. Minerva is the goddess of handicrafts, commonly worshipped and associated with Athene. Because of this association, she came to be regarded as the goddess of war. Goddess Venus, the supreme goddess of beauty, is identified with Aphrodite and was honored as the mother of the Roman people. In earlier times, she was a spirit of kitchen gardens. And Vesta, the goddess of the hearth and household, was considered important enough to have her own handmaidens, the Vestal virgins. Norse gods. Yeah, you see how many it is? Norse, Frey, is the god of Yule, traditionally born on the winter solstice, usually December 21st. He is a god of peace and plenty who brings fertility and prosperity. His effigy was paraded by the people on a wagon throughout the land in the dead of winter. Norse Loki is the personification of malicious mischief. Probably initially a fire god, he is supposed to bring the gods great hardship, but also be able to relieve hardships as well. He is somewhat and is capricious and is not to be trusted. He is known as the trickster. Let's talk about Norse god Odin. Is a magician and wise one. He learned the secrets of the rooms by hanging himself from the ash tree for 9 nights. He was a shapeshifter and was also known as Father of the Gods. Wednesday was named after him. Thor is the thunderer. He wields a divine hammer. He was the strongest of the gods. His chariot racing across the sky is said to generate thunder, though other stories suggest that this is done when he blows into his beard. He is also a fertility god, and Thursday was named after him. Now we're going to jump to Norse goddesses. Freya. Now Freya is the daughter of Norge, is the goddess of love, beauty, and sexuality. She is said to choose the souls of those who have fallen in battle to take them to Odin's heaven. She is particularly skilled in magic. Frigg is Odin's wife and the foremost of the goddesses. She is the patroness of the household and of married women. She was, and she still is, invoked by the childless. Also the mother of the Aesir. She gives her name to Friday. Ostara, the Norse goddess Ostara, symbols are the egg and the hare. While not strictly Nordic, she is a Germanic goddess of fertility who was celebrated at the time of the spring equinox. She was allegedly known by the Saxons, in which is the goddess of spring, from whom we derive the word Easter. Although new research does dispute this, Ostara is great for fertility. Let's see. Who else can I tell you guys about? If I missed anyone, just reach out to me and I'll let you know. Just reach out to me. And that is it. That's all of the ones that are very significant in work right now, who I hear, and I went by who I hear a lot of my counterparts attuned to, or I see a lot of videos on. That is what I just gave you. Frequently used deities to honor. Guys, again, if I missed anything, leave a comment. Just ask me, hey, do I have any information on whoever it is? And I'll see, can I find it right quick for you, and I'll leave a comment. Please be respectful if you come into my space. Again, please like, subscribe, support my channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Guys, if you need anything, any work done, any botanica items, anything for your spiritual journey, please go to visionsbyvasori.com and vibe with a new, even if you go and just subscribe to my email list, I would love that as well. Thank you so much. Many blessings of abundance to you. Stay blessed and earth strong. Bye, y'all.